morning to you. Today is the 14th day in the month of November. Yes, it's our Thursday, 2024. It's our healthy Thursday here on Family and Values. And if this is the first time you're seeing us on your screen, the show is Family and Values on Galaxy Television, where we are reaching out for the stars. Family and Value is the show where we stream across Mondays to Fridays, discussing the issues that concern the family, the society, the relationship, generally everything around you. It's important to understand that family is key and you need a society of people around you to succeed, to be in good shape. On Monday we had a very wonderful conversation, to Tuesday, to Wednesday, and today is Thursday. It's always dedicated for health. Because we cannot be talking about a family that is unhealthy, the production is low. We say health is wealth. So we watch out for the health of our family. Very, very important. Yesterday you heard me, I guess, was saying you get busy and the woman collapsed and that was the end. Why? Because she didn't take her health into cognizance. And so on the show, we try to dedicate our Thursdays to talk about a lot of topics that you don't even know there. With some you don't feel like, why should we discuss it? We've had a lot of healthy topics here on the show. And today promises to be another topic you don't want to miss. Kind of a continuation from what we did last week. Thursday. Alright, my name is Princess Joy Ayo Abu. For those wondering or seeing this pretty face for the first time, I'm wondering, okay, what's my name? Yeah, that's my name, Princess Joy Ayo Abu. Sometimes you look at life and you decide to go, do I have the strength to up this morning? I'm feeling a little bit uneasy, and I'm like, no, we will go to the gym, we will rock it, we will do the exercise, we will burn out the calories, we will do this. Did you check your BP this morning? Yes, I did. I actually checked my BP last night before today, and it was calm, it was okay. Yes, so please, it's important to check your BP. Now, yesterday was World Pneumonia Day. I've lost someone as a result of that sickness, and maybe one day we'll just have that conversation around to really understand what pneumonia is all about and how we can prevent it, because we are approaching the Hamatan season. Yes, it's going to be very, very cold, and so we need to see how to guide ourselves, protect ourselves around that. Alright, we are streaming on our YouTube page. Please go to our YouTube page, Galaxy Television, so that you can watch us. Download the Galaxy mobile app so that you can watch us on the go. And yes, our viewers on Star Times, you already know we are always on your screen 247. Alright, I'm not here in the studio alone. I have my beautiful better half with me. Today is Thursday and we all came looking sporty and exercising. She doesn't believe I used to come from the gym. Today she knows I came from the gym anyway. Alright, let's give it up for Mama Jenzi. Good morning, Good morning to you too.
And a beautiful morning to all our viewers out there, because each morning you can either dread what is ahead of you or embrace what you see that you can actually take hold onto. And either just push it out or embrace those ones that make sense to you. So it's better for you to embrace than to just, look at those dreaded words and just push them aside. It's better. So it's better you pick the latter than the former. A beautiful morning to you, and I believe today is going to be another wonderful day, because it's all about health. And as we talk about health, let us always make it a theme of importance, a matter of importance, something that we don't want to let go. Make it a duty, something you just have to do every day. No matter how busy, no matter how tired you may be, try. Because it's all about your health, your BP, your sugar level. It's very important. Try and see how far you can hold your breath. In case you hold yourself with that and you just need to know how long, how far, how well. Know yourself. Your health is very important. On that note, because we'll be talking about everything on health this morning, my name is Olori Adejoke, and today my friends call me Angel. Yesterday is gone. Today is here. Grace to me. And may good opportunity. Take it as a privilege that no one can take away from you. Be at your best. Let's enjoy the show.
Yes, this is done today. It's here every day, every time, one step at a time. It's important sometimes when you realize that. Like yesterday when the guest was talking about the lady that collapsed in her house and died straight up, I go back and I was like, it's high time we start putting something into place. And I just slept off. I decided I was like, no.
You slept off.
I want to sleep. Like. Why? When I gave myself, I said, no, just sleep. Don't sleep, you must sleep. Because sometimes I look at it like, wait, all this whole struggle, it tells on your health and you don't know, sometimes, oh my God, it's just rest you need, So I decided to sleep on.
And don't forget, we talked about dangers of self-medication.
And people
I heard of a story of a particular young guy. I was just talking about the stress I went through when I was having some tiny, I think like that, goes and comes, and asked the doctor, gave me all the prescribed some medications and how I have to treat myself and some other things and just take this easy. So a lady was like, the father actually died of stroke, and the father too was having that. Now he said he started taking particular drug, I think paracetamol. He would take it. It was not working for him. He went on 4. He went on 6.
Wow.
I said, that guy, how old is he?
Wow.
He said 35 or 30. I said he's gradually pushing himself close to the grave. If he did lost his father through to something similar, and the father went into stroke, and suddenly, the man passed on after so many years of struggle working through the stroke. Then the boy himself, the young man in his 30s, should work on himself. I said, what kind of job does he do? He said he does all this billboard and all that. I said, his work is really strenuous work. So tell him to go and see a doctor. Please, self-medication is not the right thing, it's not the best thing. And we should please look out for our well-being. It's not about the money. I was even told the guy is just being promoted. I said, promotion is not about the money. Yes, we all need money. Money is a necessity. But what's the essence of the money? That you collapse on the road. Your phone, your money, everything will be taken before your family gets there. Except the grace of God is there for you. Yes, we have Lagosians who always look out for. Try to help people. Some, you are so blessed to have had them because God led them to you and they will keep everything for you. But what's the essence of the money we make? We're not going to enjoy it. You cannot spend it. You'll be running it through medical expenses and your health. God will help us. Our health is very important.
That's why we chose this for our health. Do we have
very
any
important.
shout-outs?
Yes, so my baby, today is her birthday. Yes, happy birthday to you. As you had another year, we pray God is going to continue to, make grow in wisdom and in stature, and you will never bow to any other God.
Okay.
And your love will continue to grow. And also Ido Smith, happy birthday to you. Pillow Whisper, shout out. And also everyone from here, we all love every one of you celebrating today. I wish you the very best. This is your best year.
It's going to be the best year. This year will be like, okay, the least year you ever celebrate your best.
Yeah.
Right? All right, like we say, it's Healthy Thursday on the show. Okay, let's go into our mini feature so you have an idea what we'll be discussing. Like I said earlier on, is a continuation of what the conversation we had last week Thursday. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Alright, welcome back. That's our mini feature. Last week Thursday, if you joined us on the show, we had a young, promising young man who was in the studio to share his experience living with this particular syndrome. And he said a lot, he was using some medical terms, and I'm sure a lot of viewers would be like, but it's not a medical doctor. He actually understood the syndrome because it is what he's living with, so he did a lot of research. But then we felt like, okay, fine, let's bring our medical doctor to come explain to us in details what this is all about. Because trust me, that was the first time I was hearing it. I wouldn't lie, that was the first time I was hearing about the syndrome. And I know a lot of our viewers will be wondering, something like that is this thing, you know. So we felt it was important we take it from the doctor's perspective, from the medical perspective. What is it all about? How do people get to understand this particular syndrome? And we're talking about the Marfan syndrome, but today from a doctor's perspective. And we have our own medical doctor, our teammate, our playmate in the building. He's here to do justice to this topic. Yes, Dr. Kelvin is here. He's an author and a medical doctor, a general practitioner, everything in the medical field, you know. Yeah, kudos to that book. I gave it to a principal and he read it and he loves it. So probably
thank you for that.
Yeah, so
thank
they'll be
you for
ordering
that.
maybe a few to just
So have you once again.
Thank you very
good
much.
to see you.
Yes, so
And you look a little bit calmer.
very calm.
such is life.
See. Oh God! Wait. Now your phone. See, Dr. Kevin tell us such is life.
Yes.
This is how you be doing this. Is such is life.
I have entered my Christmas season already.
Oh God! Can you imagine? This is beautiful. He has entered his Christmas. Like I told you, you need to start planning for your Christmas now. It's so good to have you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And the patients. I hope they're not troubling you too much.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Me, it is the t-shirt I'll collect. I don't want to sleep.
Okay.
Just need as a t-shirt I'll collect. Okay, so when I sent that topic to you, I remember you were like, Joy, you didn't pronounce it well. This is the right, because you're trying to understand what are you talking about.
You were
Pronounce it, please.
Marfan syndrome.
Marfan syndrome.
Yes.
Marfan syndrome.
So now, for us, for me, last week was the first time I was hearing about it and seeing a patient that actually is going through. Because we had the young man here. In fact, we see his height. So I was not asking myself. I thought I used to be average. No, I'm just down here. And it was wonderful seeing him share his experience, what he has. He just discovered it last year, and he's been living with it for 21 years. So for 20 years, he did not understand what was happening in his life, not until last year when he clocked 21. And so he brought to the knowledge of what's happening in the medical. I think there are some sicknesses will still be, we are used to the controversial polio, malaria. Yeah. So by the time you start hearing some things, I've seen somebody living with it, it becomes. But for the sake of clarity and from a doctor's perspective, what is the Marfan syndrome all about?
Okay, Marfan syndrome is a connective tissue disorder. It is genetic. It is autosomal dominant disorder. So meaning if one person has it in the family, another person is likely to get it. The chances of other members of the family getting it is 50%. Yes. So it's the reason Marfan syndrome has been with us for many years. Anyway, I'm not surprised because after I left medical school, I realized something that there are so many things you know as a doctor for the common man, the layman out there. It is strange to them because in medical school, you were just assimilating so much knowledge. To you, these things, they become normal. It is normal to know them. It is when you start interacting with people, you realize that, oh, people don't know so much of these things. And because when it comes to connective tissue diseases, a lot of people are not familiar with it because rheumatology is still one aspect of medicine that we don't have so many specialists in this field. And we need more people in this field, and we need more social media, telemedicine education so that we can bridge the gap between health professionals and people.
Okay, Marfan syndrome. The guy was actually 6'10". 6'10", because I had to ask. I wanted to know. It was 6'10". He is 6'10". No, he is 6'10". I want to ask, what brings about this syndrome? What are those things that are likely to come across and cause this particular syndrome?
Well, it's a connective tissue disorder which deals with abnormal elastic tissue formation. In the connective tissue, we have a part of it which we call the elastic fiber. So if a part of your body stretches, the elastic fiber will allow you to go back to the original size, the original length. But for them, this connective is defective. So once it expands, it is difficult for it to go back to its original length. That elasticity is no longer there. So let's say you have the skin, the bone, they are supposed to have a particular length. For them, it will extend more than the usual. And that is why you see these people, they are lanky, taller than they should look, and they have hyper-extensible joints, the joints, hypermobility. Marfan syndrome is very close to something we call Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I remember those days when you go to the market, especially places like Oshodi, you see some people, they are doing magic, doing acrobatic. Somebody will turn the hand like this, take the leg, and some of these people have connective tissue disorder, but unknown to them. And everybody is clapping for them, hey, and you are giving them money. These are people that are feeding off their diseases. They should go for checkup. For some people, they have hyper-extensible joints that is normal. But for when you see people like that, those are the people you want to screen for connective tissue disorder. There was one time a video was circulating on the internet and things like that, where somebody, the hand was bent, the bone, it was as if it was bent, abnormal shape, and they did something that one religious leader was praying for the person, and all of a sudden the thing regained to the original size, and everybody was shouting, things like that. Things like that are pointers that this person could have a connective disorder.
He actually mentioned some other disorder that is very close, that surrounds, let me say, that surrounds Marfan. But I want to ask, what causes it? Is it, you said it's a genetic, we know,
yes,
abnormality in some things, but can we say it's a natural cause, or is due to something processed, the mom,
the father,
the father or the mother or something? Is it natural, cause? That's
it's not natural. For Marfan syndrome, there are two. It's mainly genetic, but the genetic is not a straightforward one. Something like sickle cell disease, you say, okay, this is what you must have. For 90% of the people with Marfan syndrome, we say it is autosomal dominant. One person in the family has it. And the two alleles, there are two sets of genes that controls a particular characteristics of someone. One of them is defective. If it is recessive, you need both of them to be defective for somebody to show a disease. But for disease like Marfan syndrome, once one is defective, you start showing the symptoms. That is why we call it autosomal dominant. Now, for some, it is just because one of the parents has it, and the person was unfortunate that when they wanted to give birth to the person, that parent donated that gene, and the other parent donated the normal gene and all of that, and that person is present with Marfan syndrome. For some other cases, it is not even that the father has it normally or the mother has it normally. We call it spontaneous mutation. In medicine, people don't like when you tell people, oh, try and get married on time and all of that. They say, no, that's my private life. Why are you telling me that? But for conditions like Marfan syndrome, now, this one is more related to the paternal side, the father. They're always telling women, get married on time. What are you doing your way? Men too, they have their own side effects. Now, before a man will give birth, during sperm formation, where sperm will fuse with the egg and form an embryo. During during the sperm formation, there's something we call spermiogenesis, spermatogenesis during the formation of the sperm. When the man is, there are a series of cell division that occurs. Now, why that cell division is occurring, if the man is older, 40 and above, the rate of that division is not as effective as it is for a younger person. So because that division is not as effective, some genetic abnormalities can occur from there. So we call that a spontaneous mutation. The man is not born with it. The man does not have it. But during the formation of that child, you know, there's a mutation that has occurred, and the man donates that defective cell. The mother will donate her own to come together and form a child. And that child is having, we say for about 25% of cases, but it is usually, you know, a defective feline gene, you know, FBN1 gene, but usually genetic.
Okay, now usually genetic. Let's hold it there and go for a word of mouth. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Discussing the Marfan from a doctor's perspective, and we have Dr. Kelvin here in the studio with us, and he has really given us a broader knowledge from what we got last week Thursday. Last week Thursday we had somebody living with it, and today is the doctor giving us, you know, the doctor's term. Now, Dr. Kelvin, I want to ask, how does lifestyle affect a patient with this syndrome? Because the young man said last week that of all his mother's siblings, he was eating, and it wasn't showing at all. He will consume, and everybody will be like, you can eat, but you're not growing fast, you're just thin. Where is the whole food going into? Could it be that, assuming the parents had diagnosed it earlier on, maybe there would have been a different lifestyle, healthy eating that would have assisted them? Or is there a way they can eat healthy that these tissues we are talking about can, you know, be worked on? How does healthy lifestyle come into play with patients having this syndrome?
Well, for Marfan syndrome, the most important thing is when you look at them, it is not just that they are tall. They are tall and lanky. So that gives you a clue that, okay, this is likely Marfan syndrome, lanky. Now, because they are lanky, whether they eat or not, they are lanky. That is their genetics. So it is not whether they are eating well or they are not eating well, but more importantly, are that apart from the looks we see outside, you know, internally, what we are afraid of is the heart conditions associated with Marfan syndrome. If not, apart from the look, we are not worried about anything. But once the disease affects the heart, you know, it can be detrimental to their life. So the more important thing is, one, somebody with Marfan syndrome, if you want to take care of yourself, make sure you check your heart from time to time. Somebody can have Marfan syndrome from birth. 15, the person is not showing anything, the person is just lanky, and they are yapping the person. Omoga, you know, all sort of nickname, you know, tallest, you know, and the person is doing fine. But that is not the kind of person I want to take up a career like playing football. Because I know you are at risk of having various heart conditions. You know, so what you now regard as healthy lifestyle for a regular person doing exercise, for somebody with Marfan syndrome, you know, I do not subscribe to that, because you are at risk of having various heart conditions, you know, like aortic dilatation, mitral prolapse, you know, and so on and so forth. So usually they live a normal life, but the only thing that can kill them is that heart condition, and that is what we are focused on. I will not want somebody like that going into boxing, you know, where they are punching the person, because it also has some new nervous tissue abnormality with it, you know. Some of them, the eyes, they have what we call ectopia cordis. You know, they have the lens can be displaced, you know, and things like that. Now, because we know that the lens can be displaced, You don't want to go into boxing where somebody is blowing your eye every now and then.
I guess last week he went into baskets. He has been playing basketball until he discovered this and then he stopped. So his basketball career.
Yes.
Probably because of his height, he felt like I'm going.
Yes. So yes, the person has the height for a basketballer, but the art cannot support that kind of occupation. So that is somebody that should take it easy and slow, check BP regularly. Anything that you eat, any drug that you can take that can trigger your heart, you want to observe all of those, because the person is at risk of heart condition. The person does not want to live an aggressive lifestyle, be taking alcohol here and there, that can further aggravate the heart condition. You go to places your mate are smoking, doing cocaine, you are at risk already. So why do you want to endanger? So any lifestyle that can affect the heart, you don't want it. Excessive sports, exercise, you don't really want it. Then apart from that, they are encouraged to check their heart from time to time. Have a regular visit with your cardiologist. Oh, my father died at 30. The person,
That's where I was actually going.
So
I wanted
it
to ask
to
what particular experienced doctor showed someone with Marfan syndrome. What kind of doctor are we looking at to handle? Because you said you have lined up of doctors. You have
yes.
So what kind of doctors is in charge of identifying this type of treating anyone with Marfan syndrome?
Now, because connective tissue is generally, you have it in different organs of the body, different parts of the body. So for Marfan syndrome, it's a multidisciplinary approach. It was first discovered by a pediatrician, Antoine Marfan. It was discovered in a 5-year-old girl. Like, why is this girl tall? The digits are long and things like that. So for someone like that, a pediatrician has seen, managing, the pediatrician knows, okay, this is what I should be looking out for. Because they are prone to having heart condition, the cardiologist is also involved. Because they are at risk of having a displaced lens in the eye, the ophthalmologist is involved. Now, because they have some bone deformity, some of them have what called pectus carinatum, the chest is out. Some have pectus excavatum, the chest is depressed inside. So when you have all those kind of bony deformity, the leg too, you get, is displaced a certain kind of way. For those kind of people too, orthopedic surgeon, wants to have a good look. You get, because they have hyperextensible joint and things like that, the rheumatologist will want to see. And so it's a multidisciplinary approach. So not just one particular doctor. But more importantly, I think the cardiologist should be strongly involved, because if at all death will come from it, it will come from, the heart. So the cardiologist should be involved.
Now, what is the life expectancy of this kind of thing? Because looking at the young man last week Thursday, sharing his story and telling us, in fact, when he said he's 21 and he discovered it last day, myself and already had to for 20 years you were living with it, and he was not careful because he was into basketball. So it's not as if he was careful of all these things you've mentioned. And listen, what is the life expectancy of them? Because he said, oh, his dad died at 32 because they're looking for money for surgery. So because parents out there now will begin to start wondering how, with all the doctors you're mentioning and all the appointments.
You mentioned about 5 or 6.
You get, so what is their life expectancy if things are put in place?
Well, if all the necessary health conditions are taken into consideration, they receive proper treatment, they live approximately normal life compared to every normal individual. There's nothing different. But if these conditions are not addressed at the right time, they have a slightly reduced life expectancy compared to the normal individual, but it is something that is treatable. We thank God for things like Kano Heart Foundation.
Treatable.
Yes.
How expensive, how costly for how do I put it now? For a single mother who has other 2 or 3 more siblings, added to the one that has a patient that has a Marfan syndrome. How costly? Who just sells mania, thing? How costly? How expensive?
It is very expensive, I won't lie to you, because to do valve replacement, open heart surgery, it's very expensive. I don't know if I know this football Kano at one point in time was helping people with heart conditions and things like that. So we need more philanthropists to look into this direction, and help people with heart conditions. There are some NGOs here and there help people and things like that. But for an individual, even when you are not doing just menial job, let's say the person is in a doctor, can a doctor really afford to do these things? They are pretty expensive, for an individual. And then maybe the government too can look into it, because these are the people that really need help. Not just a normal individual with 2 arms, 2 legs, saving palliative. People with Marfan syndrome, it's not that they don't want to work, but we just need to help them. It's expensive. Yes.
Now, before I let you, I want us to talk about those in the rural areas. Because you drew my attention to something. When I'm scared if I see children on stage doing this flexibility and everything.
I've always been scared.
I see them, and for me, I just feel like you're just being flexible. You're just being stretching yourself. Because sometimes you see them 10 years, you see them 11, you see them, and they display these things. They'll twist themselves and form themselves to a certain level.
Oh my God.
As a layman, how can a parent that has even been start observing these things? Aside the fact that yes, they eat and because the guest we had last week said he has stretch marks in his body, and so people will always tell him you'll be fat in the future. They kept telling him that you're going to be fat. It's normal. You see somebody who is lean with a lot of stretch marks. The first thing that will come into your mind is, the fat will accumulate with time. Not until he discovered, and he said he laughs these days when people see him with stretch mark and say you're going to fat. Then he did mention something about his gut, that sometimes he shapes and immediately he will adjust it. Myself were like, and he talked about his kneecap. He said his kneecap will move to, and so for a parent who has kids, who have children, a layman out there, what are those simple things they can use to identify and start knowing that this thing is not normal?
Okay. For the layman, some of the things you can look at. The first thing, when you see a child that is lanky, tall and lanky, there is one.
Down lanky, because it's not everyone understands lanky. Like she's talking about people in the village now.
Okay.
They don't understand lanky.
If you know this actor, Dwayne Johnson, or this Yoruba actor that this Sunday Dagbo, usually forget his name. Yes, when you look at him, he's tall, but look at the build, he has chest, he's tall. That's not lanky. But when you look at footballer like Kanu Nwankwo Papilo, he's tall, but he looks very slim, lanky. They are both tall, but one is muscular and everything. The other one is lanky. So when you see one that is lanky, you start raising suspicion. That's one. Two, there's something we call the thumb sign. So let's say you ask the person, you say, okay, do something like this. You fold your thumb and you close the other digits. You can see that you can't see your thumb from here.
Yes. Yeah.
For people with Marfan syndrome, the digits are very long. So even when they do this will come out from here. Yes, that's the image they were showing before on the screen and everything. You know, we call it the thumb sign. We also have what we call the wrist sign. You know, so let's say you raise you raise your hand, you take your thumb and your finger across the wrist and you hold it across your wrist. You know, and when you look at it, it is just touching each other barely. But for somebody with Marfan syndrome, it is crossing, it will overlap. It will overlap, you know, and that is giving you a clue that, okay, this could be Marfan syndrome. Then also there's something we'll call the arm span with the height. The person extends the hand openly between the thumb and the thumb of the right hand and the left hand. You take the measurements and you take the measurement of the person's height. You know, so the arm span over the length you get, it will be greater than 1.05.
So the arms are like this?
Yes.
And then
the length.
Okay.
So the arm span is greater than the length.
Than the length.
Yes. Don't forget we said they have long digits.
Yes.
So when you measure, you take the arm span and you do the length, you get. All this will give you a clue that, okay. Then also the stretch mark the person is talking about, you know, we call it stria atrophica. It is not like the regular stretch mark. The stretch mark is there, but now this stretch mark is deep inside. It's having like a depression. Why? Because remember we said it is a defect in the elastic tissue. The elastic tissue, when something expands, is supposed to make it come back to its original size. The skin stretches, is not able. When you have nylon and you extend the nylon, you start seeing some weird line. And sometimes you play with it when you carry pure water and things like that. The pure water, you will draw it one side, but you will not cut it completely. Why? Because just like Hooke's law was saying in physics, it has exceeded its elastic limit. So it is not able to go back to the, you know. So that is what is causing the stretch mark and things like that. So when you start seeing things like this, they give you a clue that, okay, this could be, you know, Marfan syndrome.
Finally, I want to ask, what are the risks involved with people who make money out of this particular disease? Are there risks involved apart from their heart? You know, yeah, they are flexible. They have this elasticity kind of measure. I remember the Marfan guy was telling us sometimes his knee can be moved from the joint, and it's always painful for him to try to put it back. What are the risks involved for people who take it as, I'm flexible, I can do something, I can carry my body, I can stretch my body, and they're making money from it? What are the risks? Because some, like, you are not saying your own. As we are still talking about now, I'm gonna leave that one. I'm okay. I don't need the little time I will use my money for something. What are the risks apart from the heart? Are there any risks at all?
Well, the risk are not, apart from the heart, the risk for the other tissues are not major per se. But now, like for the chest, we talked about people with pigeon chest, you know, pectus carinatum, pectus excavatum. You know, for people like that, because sometimes the bone is pressing on, you know, the lungs and all of that, the bone is compressed. These people are not able to breathe well. Is it really comfortable for them? What is the quality of life? And sometimes, if education is very important, even though you find some people saying education is a scam and things like that. What is the essence of making money if you cannot live long to enjoy the money? What is the point? You know, because by the time it's, you know, sometimes the arts, the art part is not usually the first thing we see. It usually occurs later on in life. Now, if you find out maybe from people and all of that, those that have experienced it before, they will tell you once it now degenerates to that stage that it's affecting that, whatever money you have, you will spend it and it's not enough. And the distress, the discomfort it will cause for the person, the family member. In fact, let's say the person is even an average individual, the person has a house, a car, living an average life, but just refuse to do the proper follow-up. By the time you start having that heart condition and everything, the person cannot be at home. Even when the person does not have money for the surgery at that point, the person will be on oxygen and things like that. Hospital admission every now and then, they try to stabilize the person. Everything the person has, the person will sell. Every member of the family at that point becomes poor.
Because yes, I remember I kept saying when he was much younger, he'll be fainting, they'll be calling the month saying it's typhoid, the malaria, he was in and out of the hospital.
Yes.
Until they had that he even went to see it was the eye issue that made them refer him to ophthalmologists that told him that go and check your heart. By the time they discovered that it has gone. But talking about awareness as we round up, what is the level of awareness Marfan syndrome in the society? Like I told you, it was just until last week I got to know that there is the syndrome, living with us. And you are saying it's been there, you've had it, and so what's the awareness like, especially as we round up?
Well, for awareness, I would say for us as doctors, we have not done so much. We are trying, but that is why we need collaboration between doctors, and people like you to give us the avenue to talk on things like this. Then also we need more NGOs to focus on things like this. We have seen what they are doing with NGO, gender-based violence, sexual discrimination, importance of the girl child. But they can shift awareness to heart conditions like this too, because if you start an NGO and there are some people you meet for funding and all of that, say, well, this is not the issue that is raising buzz now. We don't really want to focus on this. We'd rather focus on something that has to do with same-sex marriage, the female child, and things like that. They don't really give people with Marfan syndrome so much hearing here, and all of that. Sometimes people, even when they do charity, they want to do charity things that once it goes on to social media and everything, people will be talking about your company that, yes, you are really doing something. But we thank God for people like Kanwankwo, because he at one point in time had an heart condition and he created the Kanwat Foundation. I've not heard so much about it of recent, but I just hope it's still functional and they are still helping people. So we need more people like that to focus on things like this. You don't really have to have a heart condition to help people with heart condition, but trust me, when you help them, it goes a long way because you are saving a family. Because the guess you had, if that somebody did something for the family, I'm sure the quality of his life would have been different growing up, and the other families too. Even if not being treated, at least for his son, they would have done the test earlier on to know that he had something because of what the father has, and and things like that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Elvin. It's always a pleasure having you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll take you to the lab, to the theater, you start giving us because you have a way of.
He has a way of bringing it out.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we pray God will continue to take you higher.
Amen.
As we move, today is another opportunity for you to get what you could not achieve yesterday. My name is Remain Olori. Have a splendid day. Be confident of yourself and love those around you.
Talking about loving those around you, tomorrow we would be discussing, is love blind? Just a myth? Yes, is love blind or just a myth? Yeah, they say love is blind. Tomorrow, let's have that conversation. Is love blind? It's just a myth all around the corner. I will see you tomorrow. My name is Princess Joy Ayo Abu. Have a